Hi there. I've previously reviewed Stephen Hunter's Bob Lee Swagger series, but there's been a new addition to it very recently, number 12, which is called Targeted. And Bob Lee, in a previous book, had shot and killed a terrorist who was plotting an attack on the United States. He himself is wounded, and while he's recovering, the United States political system being what it is and completely divided and in very serious opposition with each other. And Stephen Hunter makes some comments about this state of affairs, and particularly the way the left has been acting. So the Democrats decide to hold some congressional hearings to determine about the limits of use of force. And they want to use Bob Lee as a pawn in this. And they reckon if they can destroy the reputation of such a lauded American hero, they will do much to rock the right. So that's their motivation. And the speaker, who is obviously Nancy Pelosi, the Wicked Witch, assembles a congressional hearing to do this. So Bob Lee, who's still recovering from his wounds, is served a subpoena, and the congressional investigation is going to be in Boise, Idaho. Meanwhile, there's another arc of the story concerns a truck which is ambushed in a hijack, and the truck is being protected by a character whose code name is Delta. And although he's seemingly killed, he's shot in the head, actually hasn't been killed. It was a glancing blow, and he goes into action and kills one of the hijackers and manages to get away, but they do steal this truck. And then subsequently, in a kind of starts off as a routine stop in Idaho, turns out into a gunfight with Idaho State Police, but there are a lot of police on the scene, and they are arrested. And they are a strange foreign gang, and they're put into prison, the local prison in Idaho, where they quickly become the top dogs. They defeat the Mexicans and take over the prison, even though there's only a few of them. This is the only scene that I really have my doubts with, because it involves unarmed combat or hand-to-hand fighting skills, which are so off the scale as to be something from kind of a Marvel comic. That was the only thing that I quibbled with in the whole book. Then Delta has gone back to his employers, who turn out to be the Russian mafia, and they want these guys killed to restore respect. So what they do is the contents of the truck haven't actually been discovered, so they leak to the feds that it's full of drugs, and they discover the drugs, and it becomes a federal jurisdiction. And so there's a plan to transfer the gang, who turn out to be Chechens, in a prison bus along with a few other prisoners to a federal facility. And this gives the chance for Delta and another chap he's recruited, who's an explosives expert, to intercept and kill them. However, the Chechens, being very wily and resourceful, manage to overpower the guards, commandeer the bus, and they drive it into, well, through the doors of the congressional hearing and take everybody, including the speaker and including Bob Lee, hostage. A few people do manage to escape, one being a senior FBI supervisor, who then he's an old friend of Bob Lee, Nick Memphis, and he takes over command from the outside. Previous to the prison escape, Bob has been giving testimony, and he's been advised by his attorney to keep everything very, very brief. But he does make a few very, very telling comebacks and actually turns the tables. But what they're trying to do, they go right over his record from the US Marines and all the gunfights he's been in, and go back into his family, because his father was a Medal of Honor winner and his grandfather was a sheriff who was involved in taking down some of the gangsters of the 20s. So they're trying to sort of say it's not really your fault, it's in your genes. But the book then goes back even further to an ancestor of Bob called Ferguson, who was British or Scottish actually, fighting in the War of Independence on the British side, on the King's side. And it's a departure for Stephen Hunter in a way, although he has written about World War II. And it's fascinating. I found he uses the language of the time really, really well. The customs of the time. It goes into a duel and the techniques of dueling. Everything. It's really good. It's interspersed a chapter at a time throughout the book, and it builds up and kind of parallels Bob Lee's story. So anyway, while the police and the FBI are making the plans, the press, who obviously have been at this hearing, are trying the best to get stories, and they do. Some of the press are really loathsome creatures and will do anything they can. They will distort the truth. Truth doesn't really matter. The story's what counts, and they will sabotage even police operations in order to get a story that they can use. And Stephen Hunter's background is in the printed media, so he understands the terrain very, very well, and he handles it well, makes it very, very believable. So Delta, who was waiting to ambush the bus, now realizes that his plan has been thwarted, but he manages to reinsert himself into the action, and the whole thing is resolved in the usual Bob Lee manner, I would say. There are some twists in it and some surprises, but I won't spoil the book for you. As usual, Stephen Hunter, the technical stuff is excellent. The tactics, the weapons used, he really understands this kind of stuff. He understands the men, or should we say the officers, because it can be women as well, who take up arms and protect us. And he writes all of this in his usual very, very easy to read and gripping manner. It's well up there with the other Bob Lee books. As I said earlier, my only little thing is the prison scene, and it kind of jarred me a little bit. But overall, it's really it's a typical Bob Lee book, and that's high praise.